Very good. Very cool. Hello, everyone. As always, thank you for joining us for today's daily Bible reading. I'm Khalil.
I'm Xavier.
And today we're going to be picking it up with 1 Samuel 17. We're going to be continuing our reading of 1 Samuel. Last we left off Friday, we read about Samuel, how he grew older, and how the people of Israel, wanting to be like the other nations, they wanted a king. And the Lord chose Saul to be his king. And we got to see the reign of Saul. We got to see on 3 different occasions how he favored the will of the people, or even at times what appeared to be, or could appear to be, the will of himself, rather than the will of God, where the Lord would tell him to do one thing, but the people would want another, so he would go what the people would want rather than what the Lord commanded him to do. Because of which the Lord took his spirit from Saul. He basically took the kingdom from Saul, promising, hey, I'm going to give this kingdom to someone else, to someone who is a man after my own heart, someone who will listen to me and do the things which I command because you have not done so. Saying, you've been rebellious and your sin of rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, right? And then we got to see who the Lord chose, which is a young David, son of Jesse. Samuel went to his father's house and picked David from amongst all his brethren and anointed him to be the next king of Israel. And today we'll be picking up where we left off there. But first, we will be reading our daily Proverbs, which for today is both Proverbs 21 for yesterday and Proverbs 22 for today. So, without further ado, we can go ahead and get started with Proverbs 21. Cool. Proverbs 21 and verse 1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord pondereth the heart. To do justice and judgment is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. This goes hand in hand with what we read last time. I think we read like 13 through 16, something of the sort. But where the Lord is literally saying the same thing in verse 3. The Lord wants us to rather do sacrifice. Would rather follow his judgment than sacrifice. And like even going along with 2, every way of a man is right in his own eyes, where we could think of, oh, well, this will be good. Then that was even something that Saul himself said, where he disobeyed the Lord. But immediately after doing so, he's like, oh, I've done this great thing for the Lord. Because in his mind, he did something good. He did something that the Lord would like and would be acceptable and pleasable to him. Because one of the things he did, he was supposed to kill everything, but he didn't. He kept some things alive. And as he put like, oh, well, I'm going to use this for a sacrifice to the Lord. And it's something that Samuel replies to them is obedience is better than sacrifice, where the Lord would rather you just did what he said than try to do some extra stuff. And it's the same way with us. The Lord's given us commandments. The Lord, like we've spent so much time already just from Exodus, or really just Genesis, to Deuteronomy, reading the law of the Lord. He's given us what he wants to do. He would rather we be obedient to that than just to do extra things. Like giving praises, gospel songs, stuff of that nature is all good. But the Lord would rather you just obey him than do all the extra stuff. Rather than singing the praises, rather than doing, with Saul and here, sacrifices. Right? 4. And high look in a proud heart, and the plowing of the wicked is sin. The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, but of every one that is hasty, only to want. The getting of treasure by a lying tongue is a vanity tossed to and fro of them that seek death. So, getting things in this life is good, but how you get them matters, right? Like he says, thoughts of diligent tend only to pleasantness. So if you put in the work, you can get good things, and that's the good way of going about it, right? Where you put in the work, where you are diligent, rather than, as it puts in like 6, getting treasures by a lying tongue. Because with you doing this wickedness, sure, you may get something good in this life, but by doing it in a wicked manner, now you've lost your treasures in the next. So you can get treasures in this life, that's fine, but that A, shouldn't be your priority, and B, you shouldn't be doing things contrary to the Lord to get them. Because you would be sacrificing treasure in the next life, being eternal life, for the sake of things of this world, which really at the end of the day are all vanity. The robbery of the wicked shall destroy them, because they refuse to do judgment. The way of a man is froward and strange, but as for the pure, his work is right. It's better to dwell in the corner of the housetop than with a brawling woman in the wide house. And that, goes for a brawling woman, which is same as like contentious or argumentative. And I could go for a woman or anyone else. It is not good to dwell with strife. That's something the Bible talks a lot about. If possible, live peaceably with all men. It's good to dwell in peace. No one likes to dwell in strife. The soul of the wicked desireth evil. His neighbor findeth no favor in his eyes. When the scorner is punished, the simple is made wise. And when the wise is instructed, he receiveth knowledge. The righteous man wisely considereth the house of the wicked, but God overthroweth the wicked for their wickedness. A righteous man, we all should be capable of learning from the example of the wicked. And that's what a lot of the Bible is about. That's what the example of Saul is about. And what we'll see in the book of 1st, 2nd Samuel, especially the books of the Kings, 1st and 2nd Kings and the Chronicles. Because the righteous, we should be able to look at what the wicked do. Like, they did this, they did that, and we know that's wrong. And we see how they end up. And for Saul being an example, he did listen to the Lord, rather doing what he thought men would like. And for that reason, he lost favor with the Lord. And the Lord even put an evil spirit on him that we read in chapter 16 last time. So, the righteous man wisely considereth the house of the wicked. And why? But God overthroweth the wicked for their wickedness. Because you see, hey, they do wickedness, but, because of which the Lord destroys them. So, hey, I shouldn't do that. They're meant to be our example. So stop his ears at the cry of the poor. He also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard. So stop the ears mean you ignore or you don't listen to the cries of the poor. It's like, essentially, if you hear someone needs help, or like whether it be the poor, in this example, or anyone else, and you ignore it, you don't do anything to help, basically the same thing's you reap what you sow. The same thing's going to happen to you. If someone, as Christ talks about, if a man sues you for your coat, give him your cloak also. Where if someone needs help, you help them, right? If someone needs mercy, you give mercy to them, and the Lord returns in kind. A gift in secret pacifieth anger, and a reward in the bosom strong wrath. It is joy to the just in your judgment, but destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity. It should be good for us to do good unto others. And it is, but we have to view it that way. Don't be weary in well-doing. It's a good thing to do good. And sometimes it can feel difficult, but you always have to remember that. It is a good thing to do good things unto others, to keep the commands of the Lord, to follow his ways. Like, my commandment is not grievous, my burden is light. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. So it's dangerous to turn away from the Lord, because like he says, you shall remain there in the congregation of the dead, being spiritually. He that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. He that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. The wicked shall be a ransom for the righteous, and the transgressor for the upright, because the Lord will take from the wicked and give to the righteous, burn them down to lift up the righteous. It's better to dwell in the wilderness than with a contentious and an angry woman, the same as before. No one wants to deal with strife and contention. There is treasure to be desired in oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man snappeth it up. He that followeth after righteousness and mercy findeth life, righteousness, and honor. A wise man scaleth the city of the mighty, and casteth down the strength of the confidence thereof. Whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from troubles. Proud and haughty scorner is his name, who dealeth in proud wrath. The desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor to the point of being diligent, right? Where we all, whether in the matters of this life and more importantly the matters of the next, in terms of obeying the Lord, we all need to be diligent. We can't afford to be slothful, and sometimes they'll say slack-handed, which is another way of really saying lazy, right? He coveteth greedily all the day long, but the righteous giveth and spareth not. Again, we have to be willing to give. The sacrifice of the wicked is abomination, how much more when he bringeth it with a wicked mind. To the point, and that answers, if you have the question of, well, why is it that obedience is better to sacrifice to the Lord? Well, it's because anything that the wicked, people who don't obey the Lord, because that's what determines whether you're righteous or wicked. Whether you're following the Lord and whether you're not. You're following the Lord, you're righteous. If you're not, you're wicked, right? Plain and simple, right? But to the point, if you aren't obedient to the Lord, which means you're wicked, anything you give him, he is an abomination to him, which means disgusting, or he hates it. So he doesn't like sacrifices, or other times say the prayer of the wicked is abomination to the Lord. Even your prayers, which your prayers is sacrifice, same thing, just anything you give to the Lord is your sacrifice, right? But whatever you give to the Lord, like, if you are not following his ways, if you're wicked, not being obedient to him, he hates it. So that's why. He's like, well, I don't like it anyway. I only like it if you are righteous, because then it means something. Because it's the same as almost like a pity gift or a pity present, where you don't really love me, you don't really care for me, you don't really listen to me. This is nothing but pity. It means nothing to me. It makes me more upset the fact that you try to give this to me, while this whole time you act as though you hate me, because you don't listen. Right? A false witness shall perish, but the man that heareth speaketh constantly. A wicked man hardeneth his face, but as for the upright, he directeth his way. Again, we gotta be humble. Hear reproof, because that's when a wicked man hardeneth his face. Like, same as sometimes we'll call people stiff-necked, or you don't want to listen, or you're stubborn. Again, that was an issue with Saul himself, right? But as for the upright, he directeth his way. There's no wisdom, nor understanding, nor counsel against the Lord, because anything against the Lord is foolishness, because the Lord is the one who dictates wisdom. Everything in this book is the Lord's wisdom, right? The horse is prepared against the day of battle, but safety is of the Lord. The Lord is the only one who gives us true safety. Because, like the beginning of the chapter stated, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water, he turns it whithersoever he will. The Lord is the one who determines everything, both within a man and outside the man. Everything that happens in the world itself is all determined by the Lord. So true safety can only come from him. But yeah, that's chapter 21. Thank you. Yeah, quite a good chapter. Probably one of my personal favorites. Yeah. Anything you have to say about this one?
Man, not really. You broke it down.
Oh, my bad.
What? Good. And one thing I will say, and you pretty much already said it, so it's cool, but like, you know, when it talks about this like in verse 9 and verse 19, where it talks about dealing with basically like an angry, or it says a brawling woman, it's for sure talking about a woman. But it's talking about everybody. Yeah. Like a woman gonna hate if she deals with a contentious and angry man. You know what I mean? Point is, none of us should be like, especially what we've already read in Proverbs, like, what does it say? A wise man deferreth his anger, and things like that. Like,
soft answer turns away wrath.
Exactly. We already have the instructions, and we should not supposed to be angry or brawling anyway, right? So, but just point being, like, it's for sure talking about a woman. Like, Solomon didn't mess up when he said a woman, but it's everybody though, right? Same with a man. Nobody want to deal with a brawling man or a contentious and angry man, right? And even Proverbs 14:1, where it says, what does it say? Whatchamacallit woman? Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hand. Like, yeah, that's talking about a woman, but a man can pluck up his house too. A man can destroy his house. I've seen it before. So the point being is, it's talking about a woman, but it's for sure talking about a man too.
Yeah. I mean, because that's something in the Bible in general, especially with Proverbs specifically. Sometimes people will take things where It'll be like, oh, a woman da 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 da, and a man da da, or something like a man da da da, and it's like, well, no, okay, that doesn't only apply to a man, or that doesn't only apply to a woman, because these are all the wisdom of Solomon. So he's talking about things I've seen, things like the wisdom I've learned in life. So he's just saying, like, hey, no one can bear an argumentative woman. Now, does that mean someone could bear an argumentative man? No, either way. Because he says also, pride only comes by contention, right? And like about words grievous, and that's also, and like, granted, those are like what unisex, gender neutral, whatever, right? But it's also the same point where it's like, it's just that argumentative contention's all bad, like. No one wants to deal with it. Whether it is like, in this example, like an argumentative woman, or it is just general contention, strife, or even sometimes talk about a talebearer. And oftentimes when he does that, he'll use like his, or like use like male pronouns. But all to the point, talebearer could be a woman in the same way. Where it's just all to the point that yeah, it goes both ways. Even with the like first one, where like the king is not only a king that the Lord controls, he's just making a point that a king who's this high up, the highest person up in the nation, the Lord uses them as a puppet. So so what do you think is happening all the way down? Well, yeah, the Lord controls everyone. He controls all the matters of the world. Whatever happens, it's either something the Lord's caused or the Lord has allowed to happen. But yeah.
But outside of that, I don't have really too much of anything else. What about yourself?
Nothing. I mean, I think I said my fill.
All right. Well, chapter 22. Yeah. Verse 1. Here, Brother Texas.
No, go ahead.
Verse 1. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. This verse reminds me of Job, right? Because like Job had such a good name, like God was willing to really bet with Satan about him, right? And so that just like it shows to me kind of what a good name is, but really it's like David, right? David was a good name. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. You doing what the Lord says, right? It's not about the riches. It's about, hey, well, when the Lord sees you, what does he say? When the Lord is looking at you, is he like, hey, that's my servant, blank? Or, you know what I'm saying? And loving favor rather than silver and gold, like being on the Lord's good side and things of that nature, hey, it's better than silver and gold. Verse 2. The rich and poor meet together, for the Lord is the maker of them all. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life. Right there, he gives you two instructions that it's going to get you eternal life. He says humility and the fear of the Lord. First thing first, hey, you got to be humble. And Jesus tells us this in the New Testament, like, how we need to be as a child, right? Because the one thing about a child is, hey, one, they take correction. They take punishment and they take correction, right? One thing about adults is, hey, you try to punish us, we're going to be angry for years and years and years, right? We have that pride. But when a child, hey, you whoop a child, he cry, and then 3 minutes go by and he want to hug you and tell you that he's sorry. That's a child right there. That's the humility that we're supposed to need. And they listen. Like, they just blind listen. They don't understand. They don't all the way have knowledge of what they're doing. They just listen to what they're told. So, hey, that's the humility that we need to have, right? We need to be able to just listen to God no matter what the instructions is. Hey, he tells you, don't eat pork. You might want to eat. You might not understand why you don't need to eat pork. It don't even matter. Don't eat it. Or the Sabbath, like, I got to take a whole day to not do any work. Like, yeah, like that's what he says. You just do it, right? Because you have that humility to just do what the Lord is telling you to do. And then the fear of the Lord, like the fear of the Lord. Hey, one thing about fear is his faith, right? Because for you to fear the Lord, you got to believe that he's real, and you got to believe that he will punish you if you don't do what he says. So you need humility and you need that faith/fear in the Lord. And once you have those, which means you believe and you humble yourself and do what he's telling you to do, hey, there comes the riches. There comes the honor, which is like, there comes the riches, which is your riches that you store in heaven, your good works. There comes the honor. What's the honor? Hey, that good name from the Lord, right? And life. What's the life? Eternal life. Verse 5. Thorns and snares are in the ways of the froward. He that doeth keep his soul shall be far from them. That to me is important, because like basically said like thorn, like traps. It says thorns and traps. Think about the children of Israel when they didn't get the people out of the land, right? The whole book of Judges was about how those people ended up corrupting. I don't even want to put it on them. The children of Israel were corrupting themselves by way of those other nations and their gods, right? So it says thorns and snares are in the way of the froward. Like you being around the froward or around the wicked people. What is it? He that doeth keep his soul shall be far from him. So if you want to keep your soul, if you want to keep your way and keep serving the Lord, hey, you need to be far away from this froward people. And that's something Israel failed to do. We read about in the book of Joshua and even in Judges. And that's where a lot of people go wrong in today's world. We don't separate ourselves from the wicked, right? And he's telling you, he's labeling them. He's like, hey, they're snares and they're thorns to you, right? They're nothing but trouble. They don't do you any good. So that's something we have to understand. Verse 6, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now, this is probably one of my favorite verses, but we've talked about it a lot. It's real simple. Like, it's not saying tell your children. It's saying train, right? And I like to use, professional athletes as my example. Talking about someone like Steph Curry. He had this interview, and it was like his father had him out there shooting 1,000 threes a day, 1,500 threes a day, right? So I say that to say it's no wonder he became one of the best shooters ever. He was putting in work at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, right? Putting in more work than everybody. That's what it means to train. It's not just, hey, I'm gonna tell you a little something here, and then you can go do whatever you want to do for the rest of the day. It's like, no, training is put that controller down, turn that TV off, get in here and read. I'm trained, like train your child in the way of the Lord, right? There's one thing, we read it the other day in James where it talked about the lust of our heart. When it is conceived, then it brings forth sin, and from sin it brings death, right? And, us being adults and people that come into, the knowledge of God as adults, you have a lot more lust that you got to kill within you. The thing about children is they come in a clean slate. They have the opportunity to not have the same struggles that we have, to not fight that same fight, right? But they will develop them. It's up to the parent to train them and give them the tools to get to the point where when you give them the word of God, hey, when them obstacles come, they already have the tools and the mindset to deny them. But that all comes from you. They're not naturally just going to get that, right? And just reading the Bible, like they're going to get some, but they're not naturally just going to get done. You gotta give it to them. Everything that you need to be giving to them, right? But train up a child in the way that he shall go. So you got to be consistently training them hours and hours and hours. Get them away from the TV, get them away from the game. All that stuff is not important, right? And when he is old, like this is why you're doing it. This is why you're training the child. Because when he is old, he will not depart from it. So long story short, parents, if you do your job, your children are good. right? Your children are good. Verse 7. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. He that soweth iniquity shall reap vanity, and the rod of his anger shall fail. He that hath a bountiful eye shall be blessed, for he giveth of his bread to the poor. Cast out the scorner, and contention shall go out. Yea, strife and reproach shall cease. So it's pretty simple instructions, right? Cast out the scorner, cast out the wicked, and contentions will go out. Contentions will stop, right? Yea, strife and reproach shall cease. He that loveth pureness of heart, for the grace of his lips, the king shall be his friend. The eyes of the Lord preserveth knowledge, and he overthroweth the words of the transgressor. The slothful man saith, there is a lion without, I shall be slain in the streets. The mouth of a strange woman is a deep pit. He that is abhorred of the Lord shall fall therein. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive you far from him. So back to the child tip, hey, children are bound to, and that's what I was saying, children are bound to get into, foolishness, right? But you as the parent, you have the rod of correction, which can be, the belt. But even more so than that, it's the word of God. Like, that's what does the correcting, right? It's for feeding them that word of God daily. That's what's going to correct them. As well as the belt, you're going to need that too. But the point is, hey, you need to be giving them that word of God, right? But the rod of correction shall drive you far from them. So that rod of correction is going to drive away all that foolishness out of them. He that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, and he that giveth the rich shall surely come to want. Bow down thine ear and hear the words of the wise, and apply thine heart unto my knowledge. So it's back to that humility point. He said, bow down thine ear, like humble yourself, humble your ears, humble your mind, and hear the words of the wise, and apply thine heart unto my knowledge. Like, this is what you need to do. For it is a pleasant thing if thou keep them within thee. They shall withal be fitted in thy lips. So it's like, it's a good thing. It's a pleasant thing if you keep them within you. Right? Keep the words of God in you. Keep the wisdom of God in you. Verse 19. That thy trust may be in the Lord. I have made known to thee this day, even to thee. So it's like, hey, that you can continue to trust me. Jeremiah 17 does a real good job of breaking down, like, hey, how important it is to trust God versus trusting in man, or even more so trusting in yourself and what you know. Like, we just read in the last chapter, like, everything that a man does is right in his own eyes, right? We've also read it previously in Proverbs where the end thereof are the ways of death, right? But trust in the Lord and what he says. Humble yourself and listen to him. Verse 20, have not I written to thee excellent things and counsels and in knowledge? Like, he's given us excellent things. He's given us great things that is good to save our souls, right? That's why he gave it to us. And it's good for us. Take heed to it. That I might make thee know the certainty of the words of truth, that thou mightest answer the words of truth to them that send unto thee. Rob not the poor, because he is poor, neither oppress the afflicted in the gates. For the Lord will plead their cause and spoil the souls of those that spoil them. Like, the Lord's going to take care of the poor, right? And those that oppress them or treat them wrong, hey, the Lord's fighting on their behalf. That shouldn't be you. You're supposed to be looking out for the poor. You look out for the poor, you're looking out for God. Those are his people, right? That's what he already told us. So, verse 24, make no friendship with the angry man, and with the furious man thou shalt not go, lest thou learn his ways and get a snare to thy soul. Right? It's real simple. Make no friendship with an angry man, or really a wicked man, right? Lest thou learn his ways and get a snare to thy soul. We kind of read that in verse 5, like, thorns and snares are in the way of the froward, or the wicked, right? And that's what they'll become to you. It's, like you said, they're going to be a snare to your soul. You're going to start learning their ways, picking up from their habit. And that just goes to show, like, when the Bible's, like, when the saying you are who you hang with is a true statement, right? You are who you hang with. Like, if you spend it, and that's why the Bible, Proverbs also tells you, hey, I forgot exactly how I stated, but hey, you know, the council, a fool is around a council of fools or something like that. And the wise is around a council of wise. Like if you got wise people around you, you gonna turn wise. But if you got foolish people around you, hey, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna be a fool. So get the foolish from around you. Start that dealing with the word of God and with people that are serving God the right way. Verse 26. Be not thou one of them that strike hands, or of them that are sureties for debts. If thou hast nothing to pay, why shouldest he take away thy bed from under thee? Remove not the ancient landmarks which thy fathers have set. Seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men. In chapter 22.
I'm reading. I don't have anything to add to 22.
Me neither. That's the case, we can just.
Yeah.
First Samuel.
I'll get started with 1 Samuel 17. 1 Samuel 17 and verse 1. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shekah, which belonged to Judah, and pitched between Shekah and Azekah in Ephes Dammim. So remember, the Philistines were like Israel's greatest enemy at this point in time. Because at this point, like we're coming right off the age of Judges, so the Philistines have taken over Israel, lost to Israel, like sort of this pattern over and over again. So now, like basically, the two are just at a point where they're just butting heads constantly, right? And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. So now Israel's gathered together, getting ready to fight. They're both on two mountains, getting preparing, and there's a valley in between where they will fight. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. So now Goliath the giant, and he had an helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam. His spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. So if you don't know, a weaver's beam is basically whenever they would make clothing, they have like a weaver, and it's basically just like a giant pole, like literally bigger than most people's torso. So it's just saying like that's how big just the staff of his spear was. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. So he's challenging Israel, like, hey, it's just me down here. Send y'all somebody to come fight me. If he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then will we be your servants. And if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants and serve us. So it's like a wager. Just the two of us, me and whoever you send, we fight, I win, you're our servants, you win, we're yours. And the Philistine said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight. When Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid, but they feared. Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons. And the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. And the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of his 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab the firstborn, and next unto him Abinadab, and the third Shema. So now David's there at the battle, because in chapter 16, he was made the armor bearer of Saul. So he's there, but also his like 3 oldest brothers, Eliab, Abinadab, and Shema. And David was the youngest, and the 3 eldest followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistine drew near morning and evening and presented himself 40 days. So currently, David was sent back. He's back in Bethlehem with his father, Jesse. And this whole event is happening, back at the 2 mountains in the field for the next 40 days. And Jesse said to David, his son, "Take now for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to thy brethren." So go back to your 3 brothers with Saul. Take them this food. It's like, you eat it because they're at war. So let's feed them. And carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge. And see how they're doing, what's going on, what's the situation like. Now Saul and they, and all the men of Israel, were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. And David rose up early in the morning, and left the sheep with the keeper, and took and went, as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to the fight, and shouted for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. So at this point, the 2 armies are just fighting. So Goliath isn't still just standing in the valley and they're just at a standstill. They're currently fighting as of right now. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, and ran to the army, and came to his brethren. So David's run into the midst of this battle, and to go and find his brethren. He's found them. He's found them. He's saluted them. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words. And David heard them. So now they stopped fighting, and Goliath has made this proposition again. One of you come up against me, and we'll decide between the 2 of us, which nation will be servants to whom. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him, and were sore afraid, because he was a giant. And the men of Israel said, "Have ye seen this man that has come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be, that the man who killed him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel." And David spake to the men that stood by him, saying, "What shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God?" So David's like, wait, who is this guy that we all so afraid? Like somebody should go up there and kill. Who is he? That he's got the nerve and the gall to come up against the Lord's army, talking like this, acting like this. And the people answered him after this manner, saying, "So shall it be done to the man that killeth him." About the great riches, family be free, and even again to marry the princess, Saul's daughter. And Eliab his eldest brother heard when he spake unto the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David. And he said, "Why camest thou down thither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know thy pride and the nighness of thine heart. For thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle." He's like, why are you here, David? What, you're abandoning your duties back home? You're coming here just because you want to see the fight? And David said, "What have I now done? Is there not a cause?" He's like, I came here to deliver your food. I came here for a reason. And he turned from him toward another, and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner, asking again about Goliath. And when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent forward. And David said to Saul, "Let no man's heart fail, because of him thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine." So he's like, hey, I'll go and kill him. Somebody needs to get this man. I will go and fight this Philistine. And Saul said to David, "Thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth." So he said, "You're just a child. This man's been killing people since he was a child. You can't go up and fight him." And David said to Saul, "Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear." So he's like, I've killed things before. There was a bear, I grabbed the bear, I slit its throat. There was a lion, I stabbed it in the neck. Like, I've killed things, like Saul, I've killed things before. I fought lions and I fought bears. So he says, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living God. So he said he's going to be the exact same as that bear and that lion. I'm going to kill him the same way. Because he's come against the armies of the living God. And this is like really, so far, and we'll continue to see it, a good example of David. His whole thing was faith in God above all else, where if it's the Lord, if we have the Lord, we cannot lose. And if we and nobody can speak out against the Lord. That's just not what's going to happen. And that's like his whole vibe even here, where it's like it's all because he keeps mentioning it, because he defies the army of the living God. Not even because he told me, you. It's about God. David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear. Same point. It's the Lord who does it, because this is how just David thinks. That's why he was anointed. So the Lord that delivered me out of the lion and out of the bear, he'll deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said to David, go, and the Lord be with thee. Saul's like, all right, man, go up there. And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put a helmet of brass upon his head. Also, he armed him with a coat of mail. So Saul put all of his armor on David, trying to get him prepped. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said to Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them up. He's like, I can't go. I don't know how to use this. I'm not used to this armor. I don't know how to use it. I haven't proved it. I can't use it. So he takes it off. And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a scrip, and his sling was in his hand, like a slingshot, and he drew near to the Philistines. So he just took a staff and some stones. And the Philistine came on and drew near to David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. So basically, Goliath just sees this kid walk up. So he's a kid, and he's a ruddy kid, and of a fair. So it's just like you think of like a cute young kid, just pretty boy kid just walks up, and he's looking. This kid. And the Philistine said to David, am I a dog that thou comest to me with sticks? So it's like, am I a dog that you're coming at me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. So he's even mocking David in the name of their false idols. And the Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field. Then said David to the Philistine, thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield. But I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. So he's like, I come to you, against you, in the name of the Lord. This day will the Lord deliver thee into my hand, and I will smite thee, and take thine head from thee. And I will give the carcasses of the hosts of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. Say, I'm going to kill you, and the beasts are going to eat your body. And that's how the people know there's a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hand. Battle is God's. And it came to pass when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. So Goliath starts running at David. David starts running right back at him. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So he just takes a stone, slings it, hits him in the head, hits him straight in the head, dents his head, so he falls down. But at this point, it doesn't even say he's dead. David deals a final blow. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. So he's killed the Philistine, and he did. This was just a rock and a sling. There was no sword. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword. So he's taking the sword of Goliath, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. So he took the sword of Goliath and then cut off Goliath's head. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and of Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines until thou come to the valley into the gates of Ekron. So now they chased because he won the bet, essentially. So now the Philistines really were supposed to be their servants. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way to Sharaim, even unto Gath and unto Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem. But he put his armor in his tent. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine, he said to Abner, the captain of the host, Abner, whose son is this youth? So he's like, who is this? Who's this kid with? And Abner said, as thy soul liveth, O king, I cannot tell. He's like, I don't know where this kid came from. And the king said, inquire thou whose son the stripling is. And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. So now he's brought David before him. David's still carrying the head of Goliath around. And Saul said to him, whose son art thou, young man? And David answered, I am the son of thy servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite. Yeah. Chapter 17. Story of I didn't say it before because I thought we just may as well read it. The story of David and Goliath.
Oh, this story is insane, bro.
Yeah, it's always a good one.
I love this story. To me, this chapter shows us an abundance of things, but the first thing that comes to my mind is when Samuel was walking up to Jesse and trying to figure out this new king, right? He went to, I believe it was Eliab, and was like, oh, it's got to be him. He nice and big, strong. God, like, nah, it ain't him. He went to the next one and was like, nah, it's got to be him. He look good, blah, blah, blah. Nah, it ain't him. The point being is, if Samuel had chosen, he was judging off appearance. God was judging from up here, right? And you see that in this chapter, like them same brothers was right with Samuel, like scared, didn't know what to do, like they wasn't trying to go out there and fight that man, right? And then when you see David go up, he's like, bro, like what y'all, like y'all scared, you know what I'm saying? And that leads me to my second point. Man, like this is what y'all wanted, people. Y'all wanted a king that was supposed to go out and fight for you, and my man was scared, and you know what I'm saying? Didn't want to go fight. Like, he was like, that's what y'all wanted. Like, when we go back and literally read, he was like, we want a king that can judge and fight for us. And it's like, y'all forgot that. But David didn't forget. Like, David didn't even recognize Saul as that. He was like, nah, this is the Lord. And even when, and he even said it, he was like, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. Like, he still recognized the Lord as the one fighting for us. It ain't me. What'd you say?
The king.
Exactly. Right. And so, like, that to me is like one of the dopest things, because it was like, one, he was already anointed to become king, right? But he still recognized God as the true king, right? And I think that's really an important thing, especially if you're going to be king. Like, even when you think about the man and how the man is, quote unquote, the head of the house, but he's really not. It's supposed to be Jesus. Jesus is supposed to be the king of the house, right? And the man's supposed to be following after Jesus, and the woman follows after Jesus too by way of the man. But the point being is, David still recognized Jesus, and he was still humble enough to recognize that it's not me doing this. You know what I mean? It's the Lord that's going to deliver you into our hands. Like, he didn't even say my hands. He said our hands. Point being, this story tells you a lot about who David was and just how incredible, like, his mind was. So when later on, when God calls him a man after my own heart, or a man after God's own heart, it's like, hey, like, you looking at how and why, right? But yeah, that's all I got right now. I might think of some more though.
Yeah, no, like very fair. It is a great story of just, you know, David and his faith, but also just of, I mean, I guess like you just like the difference between ultimately Saul as a king and like David's granted not king yet, but we already seen this is how he would operate. And this is why he was chosen instead of Saul. I'm not sure if in spite of is the right phrasing, but instead of. But yeah.
And then my man he killed a lion and a bear. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of crazy when you think about it.
I mean, but like, it's David, and like, we'll see more and more. David was, especially in the very next chapter, David was just like, David was just different. I mean, like, you saw how, like, Solomon literally asked, whose kid is this? Like, what's wrong with him? Like, he wasn't a normal person.
But you gotta understand, bro. He fought a bear and a lion.
No, but that's
for a sheep. You know what I'm saying?
That's my point, though. David was a different kind of person.
I'm just putting it into perspective. Like, he killed a bear and a lion for a sheep.
He was a child and cut off a man's head. I mean, that's enough perspective as is. I mean, he just was not a regular, like, or even think about like back at like those in comparison to today. Obviously not, right? But even back then, in their standards, which are worse than, I'm going to say worse, but different than ours, where I would say like the average person there was tougher than the average person now.
Probably.
I would say most definitely, but like, and then David was a different kind of person from them. You know what I mean? So
he was a lion and a bear. Yeah.
No. They say he stabbed him in the neck.
For a sheep, like y'all you can have that sheep. You know what I'm saying?
It's one sheep. But you can think about it the same way. He's a man after God's own heart. Where was the parable of the lost sheep? Where the Lord said the shepherd's going to get it. I'm going to go find that one lost sheep. David's like, you're not going to get one sheep out of me. And I'm gonna kill a bear or I'm going to kill a lion in order to get that sheep back.
Yeah, that's what's up, though.
Because I even wonder, like, was the sheep even okay after that? It was attacked by a bear.
I couldn't imagine it was.
The sheep probably was dead, but still was just
and he still went to go get it.
Because the thing is, we read the law, so he couldn't eat it anyway because it died. It was mauled by animals, by a lion and a bear. So it's not even like he could have still used it and eaten it. So I think it was just for matter of fact, you're not gonna get the to keep it. Just the fact that he did take it, which I mean, yeah,
it's crazy. But anyway. That's chapter 17. You got anything else? 18?
No, you can.
Alright, 18 verse 1. And it came to pass when he had made an end of speaking unto Saul, that the soul of John was knit with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. So, once, David had got finished talking to Saul and whatnot, it says Jonathan loved him as his own soul. Jonathan, Saul's son, loved David. So, they started to begin building this relationship like they was boys, they was friends, right? Verse 2. And Saul took him that day and would let him go no more to his father's house. Then Jonathan and his David made a covenant because he loved him as his own soul. So first in verse 2, it's like he took David and wouldn't let him go back home. Remember, that was one of the things that Samuel was telling the people. He was like, hey, this is the king's power. He can do stuff like that. But y'all wanted the king so bad. But he's like, yeah, so he couldn't go back home no more. And then Jonathan and David, they ended up making a covenant because he loved him as his own soul. Verse 4. And Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was upon him and gave it to David and his garment, even to the sword and to his bow and to his girdle. And David went out whithersoever Saul sent him and behaved himself wisely. And Saul set him over the men of war. And he was accepted in the sight of all the people and also in the sight of Saul's servant. So he gained a new position, right? He's over all the war people. Verse 6, and it came to pass as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistines, that the women came out of all the cities of Israel singing and dancing to meet King Saul with tabrets, with joy and with instruments and music. So as they came back from the demolition of the Philistines, you got the women singing and whatnot. In verse 8, and Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. So Saul hears the music and he gets angry. Why? And he said, they have ascribed unto David 10,000, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom? So he's like, they talking about David killing 10,000s, and I'm only killing thousands. So he started getting jealous. He started getting angry and mad that people was recognizing David as more of a killer and warrior than he was, right? And Saul eyed David from that day and forward. So Saul had his eyes on him, like he was low-key hating on him from that day forward. Verse 10. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house. And David with his hand, as at the other times. And there was a javelin in Saul's hand. And Saul cast the javelin, for he said, I will smite David even to the wall with it. And David avoided out of his presence twice. So Saul even tried to kill David, right? He threw the javelin at David, and said David avoided it twice. Verse 12, and Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with him and was departed from Saul. So, and we'll begin to understand this as we continue to read, but Saul was able to recognize, hey, Saul, like the Lord was with David, right? So Saul was with David Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with him and was departed from Saul. So he recognized, like the Lord wasn't with me. And Samuel already told him, like, you rejected the Lord rejected thee. And from there he got that evil spirit. But the point being is he didn't have that spirit anymore. And he seen that David had it, right? So he was angry, like he was mad. Verse 13, therefore Saul removed him from him and made him his captain over 1,000. And he went out and came in before the people. And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. Wherefore, when Saul saw that he had behaved himself very wisely, he was afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David, because he went out and came in before them. And Saul said to David, behold, my elder daughter Merab, her will I give thee to wife. Only be thou valiant for me, and fight the Lord's battle. For Saul said, let not mine hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Philistines be upon him. And David said unto Saul, who am I? And what is my life, or my father's family in Israel, that I should be son-in-law to the king? But it came to pass, at the time when Merab, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, that she was given unto Adriel, the Maholiathite, to wife. And Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David. And they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. And Saul said, I will give him her, that she may be a snare to him, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Wherefore Saul said to David, thou shalt this day be the son-in-law, shall be my son-in-law in the one of the 20. And Saul commanded his servants, saying, commune with David secretly, and say, behold, the king hath delight in thee. And all the servants loved thee. Now therefore be the king's son-in-law. And Saul's servants spake those words in the ears of David. And David said, seemeth it to you a light thing to be the king's son-in-law, saying that I am a poor man and lightly esteemed? So Saul keep trying to sneak this woman onto him. He's like, is it a light thing that I become? Like, he's basically as humble as possible. Like, who am I that I should be, the daughter-in-law to Saul? Or to the king, more say, right? Or the son-in-law, the son-in-law to the king. Verse 24, and the servant of Saul told him, saying, on this manner spake David. And Saul said, thus shall ye say to David, the king desireth not any dowry, but 100 foreskins of the Philistines, to be avenged of the king's enemies. But Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines. So this was all just a major scheme by Saul. He's like, nah, you ain't got to give me no money. You don't have to give me anything for this woman. You got to go out there and fight, right? And in hopes that David would eventually end up getting himself killed, right? He didn't want to be the one to actually kill him. He made this whole scheme for the Philistines to do it. All right, verse 26. And when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to be the king's son-in-law. And the days were not expired. So we're you just want me to go out here and fight? I could do that. So it says he took the agreement. Verse 27. And when David arose and went, he and his men, and slew of the Philistines 200 men, and David brought their foreskins, and they gave them in the full tale to the king, and that he might be the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him Michal, his daughter, to wife. And Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him. And Saul was yet the more afraid of David. And Saul became David's enemy continually. Like, this is the relationship of David and Saul. Saul, because he's like envious of David and jealous of David, hey, he's angry, like he hates him. David, on the other hand, he recognized that this is the anointed king of God. Like, he has no hard feelings for this man. No matter how many times Saul tries to kill this man, he has no want or urge to do anything evil to him, right? But it says Saul became David's enemy continually. Like, he's on opposite sides. Then the princes of the Philistines went forth, and it came to pass after they went forth that David behaved himself more wisely than all the servants of Saul, so that his name was much set by. The end. Chapter 18.
Good reading. Chapter 18. It's at this point, the Lord has abandoned Saul. He's even put an evil spirit on him. So his behavior is not surprising, but it's still sad. It's one of those things where it's like, the Bible says, he that exalts himself will be abased. One of Saul's main issues was his stubbornness, or another way, it's his pride, right? To where he couldn't listen. He was incapable of just hearkening to instruction. He always thought his way was better, that's what pride is. Even if it's not always how we think about it. Because sometimes we think of pride as just like boasting and stuff. But no, it's a lot more than that. It's just like a level of self-importance to where you can't listen, you can't be rebuked, reproved, you can't hearken to anything. You're stiff-necked, stubborn, all of that. Which he was, right? But to the point that the Lord hates the proud, but he'll abase the proud. And that's sort of like what we've seen happen even here with Saul. And he's just like lashing out because of it. Because he's like so paranoid and afraid that David is going to undermine him and take the kingdom. Which, he's wrong about the undermine part. He's also wrong about take the kingdom. Because ultimately, he's given the kingdom by the Lord. So, but it's all still to the point that, it's just how far we fall. Yeah, that's all I gotta say about 18. Chapter 19 and verse 1. And Saul spake to Jonathan his son, and to all his servants, that they should kill David. So now he's blatantly we need to get rid of David. We need to get rid of this problem. But Jonathan, Saul's son, delighted much in David, and Jonathan told David, saying, my Saul, my father, seeketh to kill thee. Because remember, the two made a covenant. They're like brothers to each other. So now he's telling David, hey, dad's trying to kill you. Now therefore I pray thee, take heed to thyself until the morning, and abide in a secret place, and hide thyself. So find a place and hide. And I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where thou art, and I will commune with my father of thee. And what I see, that I will tell thee. And Jonathan spake good of David unto Saul his father, and said unto him, let not the king sin against his servant, against David, because he hath not sinned against thee. And because his works have been to thee word very good. For he did put his life in his hand and slew the Philistine, and the Lord wrought a great salvation for all Israel. Thou sawest it, and didst rejoice. Wherefore then wilt thou sin against innocent blood, to slay David without cause? So it's like that. David's, we don't need to kill David. David's been great. He helped us out with Goliath. You were there, and you were happy, you rejoiced. Why do you want to, shed innocent blood, kill an innocent man? And Saul hearkened unto the voice of Jonathan. And Saul sware, as the Lord liveth, he shall not be slain. So Saul, here's some reason here. And he's all right, we're not going to kill David. And Jonathan called David, and Jonathan showed him all those things. And Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence, as in times past. So, everything was chill. And there was war again, and David went out and fought with the Philistines, and slew them with a great slaughter, and they fled from him. So David's doing this thing again, fighting against the Philistines. And the evil spirit from the Lord was upon Saul, as he sat in his house with his javelin in his hand, and David played with Samuel. Remember, one of David's jobs was to play the harp before Saul whenever the evil spirit started vexing. Right? But again, all of this is playing out according to Saul's pride, where he's so afraid. Because here's the thing, you're the king, sure, you rule the nation, your general should be the guy killing more people. That's how that should work. He should be the guy to go and kill all the people for you so you can run your country. That's really how it should work. But it's just he's caught up in his mind so much about like his stubbornness and his pride of where I'm king, I need to be the greatest and I guess everything, that he's deluded himself in this way. Right? He's jealous. Or rather envious as well. And Saul sought to smite David. Yeah, he's mad again, going crazy. Even to the wall with the javelin. But he slipped away out of Saul's prayer. So he throws the javelin, trying to smite David to the wall, but he misses. David was able to slip away. And he smote the javelin into the wall. And David fled and escaped that night. Saul also sent messengers unto David's house to watch him and to slay him in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, told him. So now he's even trying to kill David in the night. But Saul's daughter, Michal, warns David, saying, if thou save not thy life tonight, tomorrow thou shalt be slain. So Michal let David down through a window, and he went and fled and escaped. And Michal took an image and laid it in the bed, and put a pillow of goat's hair for his bolster, and covered it with the cloth. So she basically even made like a decoy as to help David escape. And when Saul sent messengers to take David, she said, he is sick. So she's being a good wife, she's covering for him, just trying to get her father not to kill him. And Saul sent the messengers again to see David, saying, bring him up to me in the bed that I may slay him. And when the messengers were come in, behold, there was an image in the bed, with a pillow of goat's hair for his bolster. And Saul said to Michal, why hast thou deceived me so, and sent away mine enemy that he's escaped? And Michal answered Saul, he said unto me, let me go. Why should I kill thee? So David fled and escaped, and came to Samuel to Ramah, and told him all that Saul had done to him. And he and Samuel went and dwelt in Naioth. So he's now run to Samuel, like the prophet, and he's just like telling him all Saul's gone crazy, he's trying to kill me, so on and so forth. And it was told Saul, saying, behold, David is at Naioth in Ramah. And Saul sent messengers to take David. And when they saw the company of the prophets prophesying, and Samuel standing as a point over them, the Spirit of God was upon the messengers of Saul, and they also prophesied. So they tried to go up to take David. But even when they saw the prophets and Samuel over them, that's like the judge, the head of the prophets, like then the Spirit of God came upon them, and they even started prophesying. It was told Saul, he sent other messengers, and they prophesied likewise. He sent messengers again the third time, and they prophesied also. And it just kept happening. Then went he also to Ramah, and came to a great well that is in Succoth. And he asked and said, where are Samuel and David? And one said, behold, they be at Naioth and Ramah. And he went thither to Naioth and Ramah, and the Spirit of God was upon him, and he went on and prophesied, until he came to Naioth and Ramah. And he stripped off his clothes also, and prophesied before Samuel like manner, and lay down naked all that day and all that night. Wherefore they say, is Saul also among the prophets? So even the Spirit came upon Saul, to where he started prophesying as well. And he fell and he laid down before Samuel. Yeah. And that's chapter 19.
Calls a real one.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, just evil spirits came on Saul, so it's like he's acting accordingly, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah. But yeah, even the thing, evil spirits are it's like one of those things where you're not drawn away of unless it's one of those things, or even a reprobate mind they talk about in Romans 1. It's where the Lord gives you up to your desires, right? To your point, where He casts you away from Him, but He gives you up to your own desires, as they say, making yourself foolish. But even as James talks about, a man is drawn away by his own lusts, right? Where the Lord's put this evil spirit on Saul, but if you know, none of it is. He's not doing something that is completely different from really before. It's still all stubbornness and pride. And envy and jealousy just go hand in hand with those things. Because in your pride are you jealous and you're envious. Because if you're humble and you're like, oh, well, David's going to be the next king, it's like, well, the Lord is the one who anoints the king. Like, okay, and like if the Lord chose David, he'll be a king. That's how they will play out. Right? David killed more people. That's great. The Lord blessed David. The Lord got him to do that. The Lord made David the killer. The Lord made me the king. But like, blessed be the name of the Lord. It could be that simple, but all of it is just still his pride and his stubbornness. Where like, no, it's got to be this or da 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 da. So, but also the point is just it's still just sad.
Yeah. Oh, chapter 20?
No. You got it?
No.
Okay. Well.
In verse 1, and David fled from Naioth and Ramoth, and came and said before Jonathan, what have I done, and what is mine iniquity? And what is my sin before thy father that he seeketh my life? So David ends up leaving Naioth because now Saul's there and whatnot. And he went before Jonathan and was like, bro, am I missing something? Like, did I do something? Like, what did I do wrong that your father wants to kill me? And he said unto him, God forbid thou shalt not die. Behold, my father will do nothing, either great or small, but that he will show it me. And why should my father hide this thing from me? It is not so. So he's like, hey, look, anything my father gonna do, he gonna tell, like he gonna show me first. Verse 3, and David swore moreover and said, thy father certainly knoweth that I have found grace in thine eyes. And he said, let not Jonathan know this, lest he be grieved. But truly as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, there is but a step between me and death. So he's like, man, nah, like Saul already know that me and you homies, like, so he's not gonna show you nothing. Verse 4. Then said Jonathan unto David, whatsoever thy soul desire, I will even do it for thee. And David said unto Jonathan, behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I shall not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go that I may hide myself in the field until the third day at even. If thy father at all miss me, then say, David earnestly asked leave of me that he might run to Bethlehem his city, for there is a yearly sacrifice there for all the family. If he say thus, it is well, thy servant shall have peace. But if he be very wroth, then be sure that he was determined by me. So he's like, hey, you know, it's gonna be a new moon. We're supposed to be he's supposed to be like a gathering with the king where they sit down and eat meat and things of that nature. But he said, I'm not going to go, right? And when I don't go, Jonathan, you tell your father that, hey, I had to run to Bethlehem. There's a yearly sacrifice that I had to be a part of, blah, blah, blah. And so he's like, but if when you tell your father that, if he like says, okay, it is well, it's all good, that it be peace, then okay, it's good. But if he be mad, then like, okay, then understand it's gonna be evil towards me. That's how he's gonna feel, right? Verse 8, therefore thou shalt deal kindly with thy servant, for thou hast brought thy servant into a covenant of the Lord with thee. Notwithstanding, if there be in me iniquity, slay me thyself. For why shouldest thou bring me to thy father? And Jonathan said, far be it from thee. For if I knew certainly that evil were determined by my father to come upon thee, then would not I tell it to thee? Then said David to Jonathan, who shall tell me? Or what if thy father answers thee roughly? So he's like, okay, this is the plan. How am I going to know that he's angry at me, right? So now they're trying to come up with a plan for that. Verse 11. And Jonathan said unto David, come and let us go out into the field. And they went out, both of them, into the field. And Jonathan said unto David, O Lord, God of Israel, when I have sounded my father about tomorrow, any time, or the third day, and behold, if there be good towards David, I then send not unto thee, and show it thee. The Lord do so, and much more to Jonathan. But if it please my father to do evil, then I will show it to thee, and send thee away that thou mayest go into peace. And the Lord be with thee as he hath been with my father. And thou shalt not only, while yet I live, show me the kindness of the Lord, that I die not, but also thou shalt not cut off thy kindness from my house forever. No, not when the Lord have cut off the enemies of David, every one from the face of the earth. So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, let the Lord even require it at the hand of David's enemy. And Jonathan caused David to swear again, because he loved him, for he loved him as he loved his own soul, like they was really locked in. And And Jonathan's really looking out for David right now. Then Jonathan said to David, tomorrow is the new moon, and thou shalt be missed, because thy seat will be empty. And when thou hast stayed 3 days, then thou shalt go down quickly, and come to the place where thou didst hide thyself. When the business was in hand, it shall remain by the stone of Ezel. And I will shoot 3 arrows on the side thereof, as though I shot them at a mark. And behold, I will send a lad, saying, go, find out the arrows. If I expressly say unto the lad, behold, the arrows are on this side of thee, take them. Then come now, for there is peace to thee, and no hurt, as the Lord liveth. So now they're getting to the plan, right? And the plan is, hey, you go out into the field, and based on how I shoot these arrows, right? And what the lad says is whether or not Saul is angry with you, right? Because he says, I'm going to shoot 3 arrows, and if I expressly say unto the lad, behold, the arrows are on this side of thee, take them. Then come now, for there is peace to thee, and no hurt, as the Lord liveth. So verse 22, but if I say thus unto the young men, behold, the arrows are beyond thee, go thy way, for the Lord hath sent thee away. And as touching the matter which thou and I have spoken of, behold, the Lord be between thee and me forever. So he's like, hey, but if it be beyond you, hey, go ahead and go, like he's angry, right? Verse 24. So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon was come, the king set him down to eat meat. And the king sat upon his seat, as at other times, even upon a seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty. Nevertheless, Saul spake not anything that day, for he thought something had befallen him. He is not clean, surely he is not clean. So he didn't say nothing that first day. You know what I'm saying? He just thought, okay, maybe he's unclean, maybe something happened. Right, verse 27. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the 2nd day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said unto Jonathan his son, wherefore cometh not to the son of Jesse to meet, neither yesterday nor today? And Jonathan answered Saul, David earnestly asked leave of me to go to Bethlehem. And he said, let me go, I pray thee, for our family hath a sacrifice in the city. And my brother, he hath commended me to be there. And now if I found favor in thine eyes, let me get away, I pray thee, and see my brethren. Therefore he cometh not unto the king's table. So now they're going on with the plan. So Saul finally says something about where is David, and Jonathan's telling him, like, hey, you know, he had to go back to his hometown, yearly offering, things of that nature, right? Verse 30. Then Saul's anger was kindled against Jonathan, and he said unto him, thou son of the perverse, rebellious woman, do not I know that thou hast chosen the son of Jesse to thine own confusion, and unto the confusion of thy mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Jesse liveth upon the ground, thou shalt not be established, nor thy kingdom. Wherefore now send and fetch him unto me, for he shall surely die. So he's telling them, like, hey, like, he's basically like, bro, you gotta be stupid, right? He's really telling them, like, hey, you cannot be king unless David dies, right? Because Saul already knows, he said it in the last chapter, hey, David, like, recognized that, hey, the Lord is with David. I mean, and Saul recognized that the Lord is with David, right? So he's like, hey, as long as David is alive, you cannot be the king. So he said, now go and get him. And this is what's so cold about Jonathan. Jonathan understood, like, that wasn't important to Jonathan. He was a loyal friend, right? And verse 32, and Jonathan answered Saul, his father, and said unto him, wherefore shall he be slain? What hath he done? So again, he doesn't care nothing about what Saul just said. And he's like, but why should he die? What have he done? Right? And Jonathan answered, in verse 33, and Saul cast the javelin at him to smite him, whereby Jonathan knew that it was determined of his father to slay David. So Jonathan arose from the table in fierce anger, and did eat no meat the 2nd day of the month, for he was grieved for David, because his father had done him shame. So he's now he's mad, because it's like, bro, why do you want to kill this man so bad? He's done nothing wrong, right? But it's just that evil spirit on Saul. He can't get past it. That stubborn, that pride, that jealousy, envy is like, you can't get past it. So Jonathan ends up leaving. Verse 35, and it came to pass in the morning that Jonathan went out into the field at the time appointed with David, and a little lad with him. And he said unto his lad, Run, find out now the arrows which I shoot. And as the lad ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. So just like the plan, he shot the arrow way beyond him. And so that told David, like, nah, he's angry, get him out of here, right? And when the lad was come to the place of the arrow which Jonathan had shot, Jonathan cried unto the lad and said, Is not the arrow beyond thee? And Jonathan cried unto the lad, Make speed, haste, stay not. And Jonathan's lad gathered up the arrows and came to his master. But the lad knew not anything. Only Jonathan and David knew this matter. And Jonathan gave his artillery unto his lad and said unto him, Go, carry them into the city. And as soon as the lad was gone, David arose out of a place towards the south and fell on his face towards the ground and bowed himself 3 times. And there kissed one another and wept one with another until David exceeded. And Jonathan said to David, Go in peace, for as much as we have sworn both of us in the name of the Lord, saying, The Lord be between me and thee, and between my seed and thy seed forever. And he arose and departed, and Jonathan went into the city. That's the end of chapter 20. But he was like they both wept together, because it's like, bro, like, you shouldn't have to leave. Like, I really respect Jonathan for this, and even McCall, like, it's so interesting because McCall loved David. She, ended up saving him, got him out, made the little fake man under the cover, that same trick that children do. But all of that, in the defense of her husband and from David, right? And then Jonathan, like, he loves David. They love their brothers. They're locked in. So it's like he's doing what he can do to save David, right? They both, 2 of David's children, Saul's children, like, recognize David is a good man. He's done nothing wrong. But in the same breath, Saul just can't see past, like, himself. He can't get that evil from off of him, right? Which was, is, and is always going to be his downfall, right? He had it made just like David did, but he couldn't hold on to it, right? Hold on to your salvation. Hold on to the word of God. Saul failed to do that, He started being rebellious and stubborn and things of that nature. And that's why he got to this point that he's at now. And that's really just a key, something for us to learn. It's like, hey, you can be good today and then pride be your downfall. Like, and this Saul is a living example. Sometimes it doesn't carry weight when you just say, hey, the humble will be lifted up and the proud will be abased. Sometimes we don't fully understand what that means or what that looks like. We just kind of say it lightly, but like it gets this bad. Like you can be in a good position with God and your pride completely ruins it. To where he puts that evil spirit on you and things of that nature. That's why it's important to get rid of your pride. To cast it from you, to examine yourself. Right? But with that being said, so yeah, that was Saul's biggest problem. And Jonathan and his sister McCall, they understood that, like, they understood that David was good. There was nothing wrong with David. But point being, hey, that's the end of chapter 20, and really, we just see Jonathan making his plan to see if Saul's still angry with him. And now Jonathan really gets the truth behind it. Like, Jonathan sees that, hey, he's always going to aim to kill David, right? Like, he's never not going to try to kill David. He literally said it in his own mouth, like in verse 31, he's like, Wherefore now send and fetch him unto me, for he shall surely die. He said, For as long as the son of Jesse liveth upon the ground, thou shalt not be established, nor thy kingdom. So it's like, as long as David is alive, you, Jonathan, can never be king. Right? And that bothers Saul, right? One, it was his fault. Like, Jonathan very well could have been king if Saul did what he was supposed to do and didn't refuse the Lord. But anyway, enough of all that. That's chapter 20, and that's what we're gonna call it today, chapter 20. But yeah, so I didn't really have a place in mind that I'm trying to think. No, I'm not gonna force it. So, with that being said, we'll call it here. Thank you guys for reading along with us on our daily reading. Tomorrow we'll pick up with chapter 21 of 1 Samuel. So we'll get more into this Saul and David feud that's going on, or more so like Saul feud with David, because David didn't have no problem with Saul, right? But that being said, so you can feel free to join us tomorrow. With that being said, pray that you have a good rest of your day and even better tomorrow. And peace in Jesus' name.